Welcome to that Vinyl Show here at Mojo Sound Studios. We've got Snap, Crackle, and the Panek. No, that's terrible.
That's not a good one. Welcome to the Vinyl Show that nobody ever talks about. I mean, I have to say there's like no show that talks about like what it used to be like. I mean, me and you've had a bunch of conversations where we talk about like just the feeling that you got from music back in the day.
Great way to jump in here. We're doing this. The whole purpose is we're talking about vinyl because Steve's kids didn't grow up with this storage device.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they missed out on the whole process, the what would you call it, the ritual?
I don't even know. Maybe it's
as
just the experience of it and just the whole. I think there's so much missing from music today that you got from just the experience of how you listen to music in those times too. I mean, you know,
the way people appreciate music.
Yeah,
I reckon
the thrill of waiting too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
everything's so instantaneous now. You want an album, boom! I get it right on my phone. I can listen to it right now. But you know, back when I was a kid, you know, you had to go to the store. You had to get your dad to take you to the store, and it was always like a cool father-son thing for me personally, because we would go to the store together. You spend a couple hours in there looking around, and they had the headphones with the turntables. You could listen to whatever album you wanted, and then you couldn't listen to it still. You had to take it home, you know.
Yeah.
Then you had to.
Yeah, and you had like. At least I had very limited funding, so maybe you could pick up one album.
One,
and you have
maybe.
to be like, wow, which one should I get?
Yeah.
Which one should I get? You know, like it was special.
Yeah. And then, you know, just to get it ready, and then like you said, the ritual of getting, you know, taking it out and then putting it on there, cleaning it really good, and then maybe you want to record it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we remember, like, I don't know how you guys were, but like my dad always, he would record the album to a cassette tape, or as you guys call them, C cassettes, and that very first cut. So you get the cleanest sound from it. And then, you know, there's always the stuff with the needles, getting the needle levels right. And it was just such a fun experience doing that. I guess I would describe it the best.
I missed out on that technical side of it as a kid. We didn't have great equipment, so it was just slap it on and whatever it took to get Iron Maiden in my skull.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess I didn't have that kind of hi-fi as well, but everyone had a record player, so it's nice. I remember. I mean, I remember going to my grandparents and listening to Ozzy Osbourne at theirs. You know, like on the headphones, going like, "Oh, this is really good," and I don't know. Yeah, so everyone had record players back then.
Yeah. Everybody
and with
had
good
one.
sound systems. I mean, I heard, for example, that I read some article about someone had tested the hi-fi equipment from the 80s, compared it to modern stuff.
Yeah.
And they said like it was actually better back then.
It was.
So,
in my opinion, too.
Yeah.
And maybe 70s, too. Like late 70s, early 80s, that's really the vintage. Especially when the Japanese stuff started hitting the market, at least in the U.S. I don't know how it was here, but here you guys had your own. You guys, I think, had some nice Finnish stuff, too. That was out on the market.
Salora was one.
Yeah, that was one. I think that was high-end.
We had one where it said like the on-off button.
Yeah.
It said, when you put it on, it said on, and off was A. So it's like isn't, you know? I thought it was quite funny.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, I mean, all those high-end stuff. And then I can remember when I was a kid, my going to some of my parents' friends' house, and they had a huge, of course, maybe I was 8 at the time, so the speakers seem huge, but they seemed like they were that tall. They were huge speakers. I know they were much bigger than what my dad had. And I mean, that was just a massive sound system, and who knows how much money he had in it. And that was probably mid to late 70s. I'd say late 70s.
Have you ever had an opportunity to listen to Maggies?
No. What is mag?
They were stretched foil on a frame, and then run and the whole foil panel was the speaker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just they're like $16,000-$20,000. They're extreme. Anyway, we're getting off the subject.
But even nowadays, you can spend tons of money on this stuff. I mean, you can spend easy $12,000 to $15,000 on a high-end marble turntable.
And that's how much of that is the electronics, and how much of it is the gold plating.
I really don't know, but I think a lot of it has to do with just the sheer weight of it, and the marble, and the balance, and the precision.
Okay. The engines, and the mechanics of it. I mean, it needs to be like...
Yeah. And then it has some weird weight they put on top of it to really weight the gram. And it's funny because it's coming back full circle at this point, and everybody's out looking for the old vinyl that's 160 gram vinyl. That's like, I guess,
like the old 78s. They were like thick. Those things would never die. Yeah. You could set them in the Mojave Desert; they'll never warp.
Yeah, those are huge.
Yeah.
I remember having a few of those when I was a kid.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been even if it's like an album I might not even like, I just go for the heavyweight anyway. You know, like it's like T-shirts. You go for the heavy tees. You know, like the it's the best. So even if it's like an album, you think, I'm going to listen to it twice only. You know, but I'll get it anyway. You know, just in case. Yeah.
And did they have like jukeboxes here? Because that was huge in America.
Not many. Some. Yeah.
Okay.
But usually, like as well, you didn't get any rock and roll maybe, and you didn't get any music that you actually liked because, like
tango.
A little bit like that kind of. I think like Finland in the 60s, 70s, and I think things got here a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Like there was a serious lag in like how fast albums got here.
There was an economic difference as well as being the edge of the earth at the time.
Yeah. And then something happened. Something happened in the 80s where it was like everything was American here. Like all TV shows, everything was like Knight Rider and Dynasty, and everything was all music. I mean, I didn't even like any Finnish music back in the day because there wasn't many sorts of good bands. And now realizing that there actually were good bands, but they didn't get any contract to record. So it kind of there was back in the 80s. It was said that Finland was the most American country outside of the States.
Yeah, my wife says that, like the rockabilly stuff just like took over here and maybe was more popular here than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, in the 80s it would have been.
Yeah. And then like she said she would go to the library because they didn't have money to buy albums. So you could go to the library and that's where everybody would hang out and listen to music.
Yeah.
Especially 80s, or
and then with the CDs, like I don't remember like the library having vinyls.
Yeah.
But when the CDs came out, that's when everyone took out CDs and copied it straight away to a C cassette.
So what was your guys' first album?
Mine was Asia. I bought it from my brother because he didn't like it. He's like, "You're gonna love this album."
Is that the one with the thumb on it, or it's like a?
Remember the song "Only Time Will Tell"?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a dragon on the ocean. Yeah, that's the one. I didn't know if they ever made another album. That's the only one I ever had, and I listened to the shit out of it. It's like that's all I had.
Yeah.
First cassette was Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz.
Okay.
And then the first album I ever bought in the store was Twisted Sister.
Oh,
hey, I was a Twisted Sister fan. I can't have.
And every copy that I had, there was a skip in it at the same very moment. I took it back to the store, and it came right from the factory with the same skip in that shipment. It was just, and I got
Bizarre.
I changed it out like 3-4 times, and it was the same skip. It was like, I'm not walking back to the store. The store was really far. That song, I'm just going to remember this song always with that skip in it.
It's funny because I do have the same remembrance. Like there's an album here that this is my father's album, but I don't know how many times this was actually played. But this is like one of my favorite albums ever. and there is a skip on one of the songs, and no matter when I listen to that song, I always know where that point is going to come up, and it only does it on this album.
But that actually, there's a tangent to when we used to copy them onto cassettes, because if you had like a 60-minute cassette,
yeah,
and then you had to swap over, and sometimes it was like halfway through the song, and then you listen more to the cassette than the vinyl, because maybe it was copied from your friend's vinyl, so actually, you know, it wasn't yours. So you always remember that skip. It's like, oh, now I have to swap sides, and whenever I listen to it backwards, I'm like, okay, now I have to change sides to it.
Yeah,
and it kind of gets more hardwired in that.
Or it's funny how that memory comes back to you, you know. And then I remember they came out with the turntables that would play both sides. We were like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
What is this?
Ooh, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's crazy. It had this weird arm that would go underneath the vinyl. It would play, when it was done with the one side, it would play the reverse side back, and you would never have to flip the record.
Yeah, we have one of those as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought it was sorcery, but I mean, it did actually work.
Where is that machine?
We'll flash something up on there. We'll find it on the internet for you guys.
Okay, here's a question. This is the part of the show where we go through myths, I think.
Okay.
There's the traditional arm, and then there's the linear travel. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Have you?
I've never had one of those.
Okay. My buddy in California, he had one. He's like, these are supposed to be better, but they break a lot more because there's more complicated machinery going on. So we got to get our hands on one of those.
Yeah, we'll have to try those.
A side-by-side test. See if we can get brand new records straight out of the plastic.
Yeah.
Listen to that one, listen to that one.
See what the difference is.
Because, you know, we're going to get a lot of hate mail from the internet. You know, you've already listened to it once. Now you're going to, you know.
But I reckon the only thing that it really would affect is the speed, wouldn't it? Or maybe the angle as well. I don't know.
It's about the angle of the needle in the groove.
Yeah.
Because the more you cock it, now
it's out of true or out of.
Yeah, it's not straight on
so
anymore.
Affect the left to the right side like differently.
Yeah, probably the left to right differentiation.
So that's something we got to get our hands on.
Yeah, now the last one that I had did have the strobes, which you can. It's amazing when you have the strobes. You see how it does get out of sequence. You know, the speed. You go exactly 33 1/3, and put it where the strobes don't move. Then you know it's right on. And then it's very funny how you can see. You go in a week later. It's faster. What's going on? Or you plug it in somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, like if it's a belt drive, if it's a direct drive.
Yeah.
I suppose they all, even wall voltage would affect it somehow.
Oh, that has to be the reason.
Yeah.
So if you've got spikes in your power supply, like in America, I think you guys have to have spikes in your thing, but you just don't.
The power's much more consistent, I think, it being the 220, I think.
Yeah.
I know that, for example, people with like old Fender amps, they usually say that, you know, because it was kind of designed for 110 or 115.
Yeah.
So when you then put 125, then all the voltages are going to be wrong inside the amp. So
and then the hertz too, because you guys have 50 hertz here, and we have 60,
and 16.
So
it
screws up everything too. Because I have an old 70s, early 70s Magnavox hi-fi system. Did I ever show you that?
No.
It's huge. It's probably from here to the wall. And it has in there reel-to-reel. It has a stackable turntable. It has a AM/FM radio that has presets for the thing, which was like state-of-the-art then. You could hit a button and you see the wheel. It would move. So,
and is that here?
That is here, yeah. And the only problem is it will not work here. Because of the hertz, so it plays it at the wrong speed. So maybe there's a way to convert it. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Then it would work, and that I just bought a new needle for it too, so it will work.
It's American.
It's American Magnavox.
Okay.
And that was like, I mean, in especially early 70s, that was the shit to have. I mean, that was your whole entertainment, pretty much there. You know. And then it has the cabinets on the top there. It looks like a piece of furniture, and then you slide it. The cabinet speakers are built into it on these sides and in the front.
Yeah. All right, so what else do we have to discuss in this show today?
Oh yeah,
And-
so we were talking about
The first
albums.
first
Yeah.
albums, yeah. Mine was a weird one. I remember going to the shop with my mum, and I was a huge Elvis fan.
Yeah.
So it was this vinyl says Elvis in the movies. So it's all like Elvis movies.
Where you're singing in the movies.
Yeah,
the cheesy stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But
So
still, Elvis.
Yeah,
Bravo.
Yeah, so that was my first. My second one was a Jimi Hendrix one. I can't remember which one though.
Good
Yeah.
choice.
But I thought was like now looking back at it. I mean, I must have been maybe 6 or 7.
Oh,
So I thought, you know, that was
ahead of the curve.
yeah, pretty early, and particularly in the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, Jimi Hendrix in Finland didn't register anywhere. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then the third one, which was one that I knew something. I thought, you know, like I thought, well, you know, this is my kind of music. It was
Engelbert Humperdinck.
no, not quite. It was Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast.
Ah, okay.
Damn.
So
So
I-
you guys were much more
Nice
cooler.
choices.
and I think it was 1981.
My very first
Bam.
album was Phil Collins' No Jacket
Ooh.
Required. And probably I think the first record that I ever bought was a single, and it was the Stray Cats. I can't remember the exact song, but it was one of the mainstream songs that they had. So those were the first two. And then I don't really remember like second and third, but I do remember the first CDs I ever bought, maybe late 80s, because my dad got a CD player really early on. And it was, I bought 2. In Excess Kicks and
Good album.
Beastie Boys License to Ill.
1983? No, that would have been 87.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. The classics. Where can you go wrong? But then, there's ways to ruin this whole experience. Well, there's Haydn. You can't go wrong with that. But here in Finland, we have the Finnish sing-along, the Finnish Singers by Finnair. This needs to be done by a DJ somewhere.
Yeah.
It's on the list.
We could
folks.
play that, but we would lose all our viewers.
All 10 of them. Friends and family, thank you.
Yeah, I just brought like some different kind of cool stuff that I brought from the 70s. Like here's some Rolling Stones, and they cut the album all weird, you know.
That's cool.
Something a little different. But this was probably, I think this is 68 or something like that. I can't read it here. But this was like right when Stereophonics had came out, you know. It was like the big thing. What, 2 channels? Whoa. And then this is also, I mean, you can buy these reprinted now, but you won't get like these,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, these cool things they used to do from the 70s and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And these are all my
That would cost a
dad's. I can
fortune to
remember
do
these
today.
when I was a kid. And then, of course, you know, like I would buy my wife stuff. There's Justin Timberlake. So these are all fairly new ones.
Oh, wow.
And this actually has, I mean, and nowadays, you know, there's so much more music than there was back then. So this is a double album, but then also, if I can find
Are they 45s?
yeah, it's it's 2 double albums, regular size, 12-inch, and then they had to put this on in there also, so just to get all of the album on there.
Huh.
So, and then you know, like this one came. I bought this one. This is probably 10 years old, and this came with a digital download too.
Huh.
So you get it digitally,
okay, yeah.
plus you get the album. So
Oh.
that's still cool stuff that they're kind of doing. And then the last but not least that I had to show you guys, if I can find it, was I went to one rockabilly concert here, and they were selling, and this guy is a classic from Finland from the 80s, Mike Bell and the Bell Tones. And they were really good. I have to say, I'm like not super into rockabilly or anything, but what a great concert to put on you know, I mean, it's just so funny that 50s vibe comes back. Everybody's driving 50s cars and everybody's dressed up like the 50s. It's such a big thing here.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, I'm in there with my shorts on and look like I just played golf or something. But, yeah.
Everyone's got their like hairdos.
Yeah, they got the whole, they're a whole 9 yards, you know. So.
But that's actually nice that you mentioned the whole thing about the stereo mono thing.
Yeah.
Because that was huge.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice still. Like we were talking with Panek like some time ago about the whole thing about like even like the way when you record something, like if you decide to go mono on something.
Yeah.
And it just sounds so different. Like if you record drums in mono, like you won't have any you know, traveling from one side to the
from one side.
Yeah, it's all kind of smack in the middle, and it kind of has a like Black Keys, for example. I think all the drums are in mono. Just recorded with two mics.
Yeah.
And it's just like one on the floor and one a little bit higher up, and they're all kind of mono sitting there in the middle, and it has a really nice kind of tight feel.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's so many different ways to do it too, and I mean that is one thing. And I mean, I've kind of always been into music, and I've kind of tried to get into the hi-fi with the surround sound, but I always kind of resort back to that stereo. I mean, that's to me really the biggest thing that I don't really care about watching movies. I'm sure I'll get hate mail now, but I mean, the surround sound is cool if you go to a movie or something like that, but I like that stereo sound where you sit in front of it, you can really feel like you're there.
I'm the opposite way. I want 800 speakers surrounding me. That's the way I want to listen to my music. I want to be completely immersed into it.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
I'm kind of a stereo kind of person, I guess, because I think I'm foremost, if I think of myself as a musician, I think of myself as a bass player, because I love bass.
Yeah.
And for me, when bass is like the most fundamental thing that I always kind of look for, it usually is kind of quite mono, because you don't usually mix bass in stereo. Like you can, but usually in the olden days when they started to come out, like you'd have like some Beatles records, and I remember traumatizing experiences with those. If like one of the speakers is broken and there's like the whole, you don't hear any bass or any drums, you just hear this kind, and as well with vinyl, has to be said that usually like the bass has to be in mono.
Yeah. Because
the needle, you got left side of the groove and the right side of the groove, those are the left and the rights, and then the combined is bass.
Yeah.
So bass can never really be.
Yeah, one way or the other.
Yeah, it needs to
left
sit.
Or right.
Yeah, it needs to sit in the middle. So that was one of the things that usually people, when they master records, they usually sum it in as a mono to see if it sounds good. If the bass drops out completely, then you know it's out of phase. You know, you need to do something about it. But that's one of the tests usually done.
Yeah. And I don't know how you guys feel, but I always feel that the sound from this is so much different than if you put a CD on. A CD, especially when CDs came out, you know, the crispness of them is just amazing. You know, that really super highs that you didn't really hear before. You're like, wow, that's really nice. But it seems to cut out all of the depth to it, if that makes any sense to you.
Like it's everything's blended nicely in together, and I get that with vinyl, because everything's kind of sitting there so nicely, and it comes out like in a nice round ball. Whereas with digital, you get like it's nice
Precision.
Yeah.
Precision. Yeah.
It's
and with this, it's kind of like
it.
this kind of chewed into this nice flavor.
Yeah.
I had a hard time with vinyl as a kid because, well, we didn't have good equipment. Yeah. But the snapping and the popping and the crackling and
skipping.
Skipping. So
trying to balance quarters on it, and
but it was about.
Maybe we should call maybe we should call this program Snap, Crackle, and Skip.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
So but the first time I finally started to appreciate vinyl, well, fully appreciate it, it was like being smacked in the face, was my favorite record, the first Black Sabbath album. And I was over at some girl's record, her place, and she was playing that. And I was like, I couldn't talk to them anymore. Like, what is that sound?
Is this the same record?
It's just sounded so amazing and so emotionally charged. And I finally bought a copy of it in Texas for $10, and it was in good condition. And I got my company to pay for it. I was on a jump, and now I can't find it. It's dying to hear that record, and I have to hear it in here since we've got the Gentle X, and see what those different speakers do with that information.
I think that too, that like the biggest thing that's missing from today's time is just the time that it took to put in it. I mean, it wasn't necessarily about how long it took you to get it or the waiting to get it, but it's also, not skipping ahead. You just put the album on and you listen to the whole album. You take out the words, you're reading the words, you're looking at the artwork. It's all that visual plus the sound, and I think that's like the biggest thing that's missing from music today. Because I mean, the artist, especially from the artist's perspective, they took a lot of time in how I want the songs arranged, where the break is going to be before they flip the record. All that stuff was very well thought out compared to nowadays, when your kid comes up to you with your phone, hey, listen to this song, it's awesome, on one shitty speaker in your cell phone. I mean,
yeah, you get some real terrorists nowadays. Like on the metro, you're like, it's a crappy phone, and like on full blast, you go like, oh, that's horrible. Like, I prefer not to listen to music if that's what you have to listen it to,
or at least jump in front of the train while you're doing it.
No, but it's true, and I like that thing. I know many people who go like on Spotify, or I mean, I listen to stuff on Spotify as well. I sit in a car and I don't have a vinyl in my car. It'd be nice, but I don't have it. So in a car, for example, it's nice, but I usually put on something and I don't touch it. It plays and it plays and it plays until it runs out. Well, Spotify doesn't run out, but until you get there. But I know many people who do that. They listen to like 20 seconds of a song and then toof, and then I get like startled. I go, what happened there? Why didn't you listen? Like, even if it's not the world's best song, but you should lip to the song at least until the end.
There should be a fade out if you're going to switch. It shouldn't be like a sharp, jolt, because we're emotional listeners. You get your ear, you're settled in, now you're picking out the parts, and then it stops. Like, like somebody pulled the rug out from you.
And particularly if you know the song. Because you're going to go, now it's going to come to the bridge, now it's going to come to, and they go, oh, and then it's in a new song with an intro, go like, whoa. So, the flow just disappears.
I think it has to do a lot with our attention span now. I mean, today, especially the younger generation, they just don't have the attention span to listen to something longer than 2 minutes. I mean, it's...
Yeah, but that's kind of good and that's bad. I think it's good for if you work on the computers, for example. I mean, I'm really slow compared to some kids nowadays. I'm sitting there with my mouse and I go like, oh, where can I? And they go like,
yeah, you're not the only one.
The world has moved on in some ways. And we're nostalgic, but for a reason. Vinyl is a fantastic medium.
Yeah, and I've heard it before too, and I think this is a very good point. That I think that we are probably much more fortunate than anybody else because we lived life without technology, before internet, and then we also have got to live with it too. Yeah, I mean,
Tune in next week. It's going to get even stupider.
Sweet.
Yeah. So what did we learn today, folks?
We learned that we are experts in the vinyl industry.
Well.
Big shots, yeah.
Yes.
But we learned that we all like vinyl.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Loves me some vinyl.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that I think is, I think you're going to see more and more of it. And I know that I miss spinning it every once in a while.
And you've got going to get your kids hooked on it.
Yeah, my kids have always grown up around it, so they definitely know what it is. But I mean, even like when my older kids, 15, 20 years ago, they would come in and they go. I remember one kid came in with his dad, and we were playing some records, and he's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, this is a record. You never seen one of these?" He said, "No, it's like a big CD." I was like, kind of, yeah, I guess you could say that. His dad was like embarrassed, like, "Oh shit."
Dropped the ball on that one. Should have dropped the needle.
But it's funny, you'll find people that still to this day hate it.
Mm.
That came from that era. They're like, and they're just like so pro technology. They're like, fuck that. Why would you even want to do that? You get those people too.
Because it was.
And you got people who like collect CDs.
Yeah.
And I know, I'm not like sometimes depends. I'm not like a cork sniffer like that. I mean,
Yeah.
but when people say that they collect CDs, I go like, ooh,
Yeah.
really?
They make people like you? Okay. That's a thing? Oh, good. So, yeah, it's funny how technology moves along.
And it's funny how this one has lasted.
Yeah. Yeah, this is what, an 80s one?
Yeah, that would be the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was on the brink of extinction. I mean,
Yeah.
it was so close. It was so close
Yeah, and
that
then
it didn't disappear.
somehow it just kind of snapped back into that retro
Yeah.
kind of, vibe.
8 tracks never came back.
No, and I don't think 8-tracks were popular in Europe, were
No,
they?
in Europe they didn't
Yeah,
exist.
see that was surprising to me too, because like nobody. My grandmother used to listen to 8-track. I remember she had Linda Ronstadt 8-track.
Cheap Trick. My grandpap, he bought at auctions for like 25 cents. You'd get whatever is in the mystery box. And he'd have all these cassettes. I was like, good.
Half of them are garbage.
It's the first time I used to just see them strewn across town.
Yeah.
They would just drag them from the car and see how long it would go until it broke.
Yeah, and I don't know that much about them. What was the technology behind it, or how are they?
It was a full loop. You couldn't rewind.
Okay.
But it was 4-track. So you could skip to different parts of the record. So, but you couldn't rewind.
Okay.
So you'd have to wait for the song to come across again till it was horrible.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit complicated to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like my fast forward and rewind and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, and then remember when they came out with auto stop? You'd fast forward, and then it would find that spot on the tape and stop.
I
and
never played one of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was revolutionary, man.
Yeah.
And when you had with the tapes like two decks,
Yeah.
and you could copy things on double speed.
Oh my God, double speed
the double
was
cassette
heaven.
deck. Is that double cassette deck? Oh wow!
Yeah, you could copy a CD or a
Yeah.
cassette like
I'll
double.
burn you a copy in about what was it, like 15, 20 minutes? That was amazing though, then, man. I mean, you mean I don't have to listen to the whole thing? No, 15, 20 minutes, man. You'll have a copy.
Oh yeah.
A little bit wobbly, or
Yeah.
every now and then, but yeah.
Now you're just like, hold on, let me just share my Dropbox with you, and then you can have that. Okay.
Yeah. 16 gigs of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks for coming and thanks
Yeah,
for
it's been
watching, folks.
Yeah, we hope you
want
guys
to
like it.
Like, subscribe, and all of those other things that we're forced to say. And just click on the link below. You can do that.
Yeah, follow us on all the stupid stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
We'll throw the links in there so you guys can
Need
check
some
it out.
sparklies and some smiley
Yeah.
faces here. Enter that here. So keep watching. We're going to say stupid things about vinyl. We're going to say stupid things about everything.
Yeah,
And,
maybe we'll take a couple trips and go visit some cool stores here in Helsinki.
Mm-hmm.
Road trip.
I'll get us something cool to ride around in.
Yeah. Sweet wheels.
Compliments of Gasoline Vibes.
Compliments of Gasoline Vibes. What's up?
Yeah,
And
so
Matt
it's been fun.
Cito, you got to check out his website, harakaguitars.com. Gasoline Vibes, is it .com?
It is.
It is.
It is.
There
As
you
of
go.
yesterday, Doc.
All right.
Moving along.
And of course, the shameless plug of Mojo Sound Studios in Helsinki, where you get high quality audio.
The coolest sound lab in
Coolest sound lab
South.
everywhere.
the whole country.
So, there you go.
Sorry.
One of those things will be true. And see you next week.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Later.
Ta-ra.
Exit music.
Yeah.
Did we miss anything?
I don't think so. We probably did, but
Cool.
We
Let's
have to
see
save
what it
something
looks
for
like.
next
I
time.
think that's the best that we can do with all our brain cells put together.
Yeah, it was still recording.